So once you open NetLogo, you can go over here to File, and you've got a Models library. So click on that, and you can then open. NetLogo comes with lots and lots of different models in it. So you're going to go and open the biology folder, and inside there is a folder of evolution. So there's lots of different evolution simulations that we can look at. We're going to start with peppered moths, and it's likely that you studied this in IGCSE, but this will be a good refresher. So in here, this model is a classic example of natural selection. The moths, which are pale colored, will be camouflaged against the pale bark of the trees, and they'll be hard to find, but there are mutations that happen, and occasionally you get a dark-colored moth. That moth is not camouflaged, so it's more likely to get eaten by a bird. Once we get pollution and the bark of the trees becomes darker, the dark moths, when they occasionally mutate, will be better protected, better camouflaged. And the light moths will be less camouflaged. So the birds are going to be able to find the light-colored moths better. And the more pollution we get, the better camouflage a dark-colored moth will have. The moths are not, the mutation rate isn't changing. The amount that they mutate doesn't change. So let's see what happens when we run this model. So here we're going to open this. Over here you've got setup. So don't click this until you've set everything up. So this is set up over here. Here's you can pollute. If I click on pollute, it increases the percentage of pollution down here. So I can set it at different amounts. Let's set my pollution at about 18% for this run. Light moths, medium moths, dark moths. Remember, these are just occurring by the mutation, and I can change the rate at which the mutations happen. So if I put this down, this slider down to 0, there'll be no mutations, and all my moths will stay light. We could see what would happen then. Don't worry about the number of moths or the selection. What the selection is the birds, the amount of birds that are coming and feeding on the moths. You won't see them in the model, but they're just represented by this number. And the number of moths is obviously how many moths we start with. Keep the speed the same, just so we can see what's happening. And these numbers for the light moths, medium moths, dark moths, total moths, this will change as the model starts running. So let's set it up now. So here you can see we've got some light moths and some dark moths and some medium moths, and they're going to start mating with each other and reproducing, and occasionally we'll get some mutations. Okay, so let's click go now, and the graph starts running. So I'm not going to say too much about what's happening here. I just want you to play with this. You can click go again in order to stop the simulation. If you click setup again, it will clear everything. Then you can change now your settings. Perhaps you can pollute some more. So we could pollute at 30%. I could change the number of starting moths. I could change the mutation rate. And then once I've got everything the way I want it, I can click setup and then go. And so I start to see what happens. Click go again to stop. If I want to continue, let's say go. Let's say I want to increase the pollution as it's going. So now I can just click on it, and you can see down here this number's increasing. And the gray line on the graph over here is your pollution. Now it's just staying the same where I had it before. Stop that. I'm going to set up, go back to the beginning. I can cycle pollution, and what this is going to do is the pollution will increase and decrease, increase and decrease. So you don't have to keep changing it as you go along. So go back to my moths, set up, go. So now you can see pollution is increasing, the gray line and it's going to get to a certain point and decrease. You can start looking at the patterns without having to change it all the time. Okay, go and have a try. Play around with different experiments. See what happens. How does pollution affect the number of different colored moths over time?